there the cost is involved. Okay. For instance, you are using your own vehicle or a private car in order to move from one place to another, then you have to keep track of the usage of the diesel. And for instance, if you are going for a long journey, there may be possibility that you want to check in some hotel. So all these costs are involved in that. But that is also a part of services that you're using, but that is your own service. So that is a private. You're using a private vehicle to move from one place to another means that is a sort of private, your own service that you're using for your requirement. Okay. If you're using a train or an aircraft or a bus, of so that is can be considered as a public service. You pay, buy the ticket, and use that particular transport service. But there are many cases where we have the combination of both. Okay, that is public, this private. We have in hybrid services. So that is, for instance, taxi. You hire a taxi. Okay, so that's a combination of both. So there also you are paying. Okay, for when you are hiring a taxi, you are using when it is required. Other people are not boarding in that. Okay, so all these private taxi owners or a private auto, what you book in advance, then you use it. Okay, so that can be considered a part of what you call hybrid resource, where we have a combination of both private as well as a public. Okay, so that's why a huge amount of data is generated nowadays, and that data is to be processed for data analytics. Okay, for that cloud plays an important role. Okay, because that is not feasible in your local machines. Okay, so that's why cloud computing is nothing but storing data, applications on remote servers. All these remote servers, whether it's a Facebook server or Amazon or a Google, so they're all their private partners. Okay, they have got their own data centers. Okay, so your whatever information that you have in your Facebook, so they are using the data. Okay, so that is actually a form of centralized application. Okay, they have got their own central service. Okay, where it's Amazon, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is. So we are giving our data to them. So if you have a Facebook ID, then whatever the information is there, so they are stored in the Facebook server. If you have a Gmail account, stored in the Google server, and they are making money with that. Okay, because that is a centralized remote service. So that is what we call centralized application. But nowadays we have decentralized applications, for instance, blockchain. So blockchain is nothing but a decentralized application where each and every machine acts as a server. Okay. So that is also one important thrust area nowadays. So that's why cloud computing is what? Storing data in order to store your information, applications or remote servers. Now it is also required for processing information for data analytics, accessing data, applications by internet. Okay, once this information is stored in the cloud, once this information has to be processed in the cloud, for that you are as a client, you send a request to those remote servers that I want this data to process. Okay, I want this information for my analytics or my project. Okay, so that's why for that internet connectivity is required. Okay, so what are the three important components we have? You can use for storing information, processing, and accessing. If something there in the cloud means you're going to access it, because you have some files you are storing into Google Drive, because in the local machine you don't have that much space, you store in Google Drive. For that internet connectivity is required. So whatever the files you have stored in your Google Drive, you can access it. Okay, so that's why accessing information is very important, and that is possible by internet. Okay, so these are, one is storing data, processing data, and accessing. Okay, so these three terms are very important. So once you have this cloud computing environment, you can access that resources from anywhere. Okay, so you can access from your mobile apps, you can access from sitting in your office, but you must require an internet. Okay, so you can access data from this cloud, whether you want to process, whether you want to store your information. Okay, for that internet connectivity is required, and then you can access that cloud wherever you are, but only thing is the internet. Okay, so that you can browse. So browse or software. So either to mobile phone or any other computing device you have. So if there is an internet facility, okay, and you have a website for that, so then you can directly access the information from that particular cloud. Okay. So as I mentioned, that cloud is nothing but a sort of service provider. It provides services for you, and for this you have to pay for that. Okay. So here also you see there are different types of services that are available on the cloud. Okay. So that is nothing but infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. Okay. So first we'll talk with the first kind of service, that is nothing but software as a service. Okay. So what? So software as a service as a cloud. It is not there in your local machine. It is there somewhere in the remote server. Okay. For that you have to use the internet to access that service. Okay. So cloud provider leases applications or softwares which are owned by them to its client. So when I say owned by them, is there are some third parties are there. Okay. For instance, simple example is Google. Okay. So if you want to search something, you require an internet. You write www.google.com. You send a request. It will go to the Google data center. It fetches and it will display what information you want. Okay. So cloud provider leases applications or softwares which are owned by them to its client. Okay. So whatever the software you want to access, you must have that URL. Okay, www.google.com or www.amazon.com. Okay, facebook.com. All these have got their own third-party data centers. Okay, they are all companies. They are going to provide you services. Okay, use their software as for your requirement. So that's why we call it as software as a service. So one example I have given here, Salesforce.com provides customer relation manager on a cloud infrastructure to its client. Okay, and charges them for it, but the software is owned by the Salesforce company only. So there is a company called Salesforce, and they have developed a software called CRM, and the CRM can be accessed through Salesforce. Okay, and for that there are some clients who are paying for that. Okay, so there are plenty of such softwares. For instance, simple uh, uh, like for instance nowadays find several examples of online softwares for kids like uh, White Hat Junior or Byju's classes and all. All they are nothing but they are softwares, and you are purchasing and you are using it. Okay, for that internet connectivity is required. You download a Byju's app and use whenever it is required, and they charge for that. Okay, so what is that? All those softwares and educational material or all those that are explained based on some animation in Byju's. So for that you have to obviously at the initial stage they will allow you to use for trial versions, and after that they'll charge you. Okay, so all those are nothing but they are the softwares that are owned by some third party, but you can use it whenever it is required. You pay it and you use it. Okay. Similarly for internet services also, Jio, Airtel, you are paying and you are getting the internet services. Okay, you are not getting anything free. Okay, so that is also a sort of service. Okay, so that's where the software as a service, where the software is used as a service and it is owned by some third party. For instance, yes, Salesforce.com, there is Byju's.com, Amazon.com, or Facebook, Microsoft. So they are nothing but they have got their own data centers. They have got their own huge infrastructure of storing and processing capabilities. Okay, so they have got their own developed softwares, and you get them on lease. Okay, so that is what you call software as a service. One such example. So plenty of examples are there. For instance, online examination softwares. Okay, so you purchase online examination softwares like Byju's classes. Okay, so they'll charge for 1 year this much amount. So for 1 year you can use that services. So that software will be there on their server. So you just log in www.salesforce.com and use that software. Okay, if you don't have an internet, then you can't get the services. Okay, so the internet is a bridge. Okay, so there is what you are using the softwares from the third party, and you require an internet. Use the softwares everywhere. Will everything about your information or your project will be stored in the cloud of that particular party from where you are been got tie up. So you have got a tie up. You have purchased the software. So there is some contract that you have signed that okay, I'll use this software from this particular party for 1 year. So you use, they'll give the URL and you can use it. So whatever the information will be there, they'll be stored in their data center. You don't have anything in your local machine. Everything will be stored in the cloud. So whenever it is required, you log in and get the information. Okay. So that is what you call software as a service. Then we have platform as a service. Platform as a service. Okay, so what do you mean by platform? You can use their operating system. You can use their storage. You can use their servers. Okay. So there is no control over the underlying architecture when I say platform. So you may, for instance, we have a Google Colab. Okay, so Google Colab is also one of the important resources where you can write Python programs and all. Okay, so it will run in the Google Center, Google Data Center. Okay, for that internet connectivity and Gmail account is required. So if you have a Gmail account, you can directly access the Google Colab. Okay, and you can write your programs and it will be processed and stored in the cloud itself. Okay, so once your job is done, so you have been disconnected from the cloud. So whenever it is required, again use Google Colab website. For that, internet is required. You write your programs, execute it. That's all. So here you are not using your machine. Your machine is you are using just to access the information that is stored in the Google data center. Okay. So that's why that is called as a platform. I am using Google servers. I am using Google GPU cards. Okay. I am using Google's operating system. Okay. Everything I am using that is from the third party. Okay. And I require an internet connectivity. So you don't have any control over the underlying architecture, including whether you're using an operating system. For instance, as mentioned that Google Colab can be used to execute Python programs. Okay. So you can use their own processors like GPU cards and all. Okay. If you have a huge amount of data or you're doing some sort of deep learning activity or image processing, in that case, huge amount of processing is required. So you can use their GPU cards, okay, as far as processing units are concerned, because that is not feasible for normal desktop or local machine. Okay. So the cloud provider gives the ability to the customer to deploy customer created apps using programming languages. Okay. So they are going to provide everything, the platform. So now you create your own application. So you create your own mobile app or any programming language you use. Okay, you create and you deploy it in their server. Okay. So that's why they are provided by the cloud provider. All these infrastructures are provided by the cloud. Okay. So the cloud provider gives the ability to the customer to deploy customer created apps or applications using programming languages, okay, tools, etc. And they are provided by the cloud provider. Okay. So the platform they will provide, you develop your own application, but what are the services is required are your software, other applications or other softwares you use from the third party. Okay. So we started with software as a service, where you use the third party softwares for your applications. In platform as a service, you start using their operating system, their softwares, everything of there. Okay. Then we have an infrastructure as a service. So infrastructure as a service means provides virtualized computing resources over the internet. Now here also when I say virtualized computing means, for instance, you want to use Linux. Okay, so we have a virtual box. So you download the virtual box. Okay, so that virtual box will help you to install Ubuntu in your Windows operating system. Okay, so that is also one example of infrastructure as a service. Okay, you are using the entire operating system of the third party on your machine through cloud. Okay, so that is called as virtualization. Okay, because you are not using the exact Ubuntu. Okay, because you are not purchased Ubuntu here, but you are using a Ubuntu by using a virtual box as a API in order to download the Ubuntu. Okay, so you can download the Ubuntu on a Windows machine by using a virtual box. Okay, so that is what we call virtual machine. Okay, so provides virtualized computing resources over the internet. So no worries about the underlying physical machine, because that is not your machine. That is a third party's machine. Okay, third party's infrastructure you are using. So abstract the user from the physical machine. Okay, so you are not using your processing capability. You are using somebody's third party's processing capability, but on your own machine, okay, through internet. So these are the three different services we have. We call it as a service models that we generally use, whether you use a software, whether you use a platform, whether you use the entire network or infrastructure resources from some third party. Okay, all these you see here, they are just the service providers. As I've given an example that, for instance, if you want to move from one place to another and you're using a public transport, so the government is providing that public transport as a service. Okay, you buy a ticket and use it. That's all. Okay, so here also the same thing. So we have these services. So whenever it is required, you buy it, use it. That's all. Okay. So that's why we have three different categories. Okay. So this is how it looks like. We start with software as a service. You see, so you manage the data. So all these red colors are managed by the vendor from where you are using that software. For instance, that CRM software, I've given an example that Salesforce management, or for instance, we have a metal.com is a where you can conduct your own exams. Okay, so that is done, and in the metals server. Okay, so that's why here at the top you are just using your own data. So use your own data. Okay, because the software requires data to process, but the software is not yours. Software is from some third party. Okay, so that's why here you see entire thing: networking, storage, servers, operating system, middleware, runtime, application. All these red color boxes, they are from third party. It is not yours. Okay, so what is yours in and software as a service? You are just using your data, but the rest of the things are from third party. Okay, so that is what software as a service. Okay, if you use Baiju, if you use metal.com for online exams and all, so you are providing the data, but software is that from the third party. Okay, that is not your software. Okay, you are just using it, means you are providing the data only. So in platform as a service, apart from the data, you start using their applications. Okay, all the red color is, you see, managed by the vendor. All these are managed by the vendor. So what is managed by you? The data and the application. So that's why it is called as a platform as a service. Here, this application is not there because that application is provided by this one, like CRM example or Byju's or Metal or Google Colab. Okay, and here you're not only using your data, but you started using their applications also. Okay, so that is what you call platform as a service. You started using their operating systems and all. So in infrastructure as a service, apart from data, apart from their own softwares, operating system and all, you have started using their resources as well. Okay, so middleware, operating system, okay, runtime utilizations. Okay, so all this is managed by you. Okay, as a infrastructure as a service. Okay, but rest of the things like virtualization, servers everywhere is from third party itself. Servers, storage, networking, okay, and virtualization you will find in all these three, because these are the core part of cloud. Okay, so internet, data storage, data centers as servers, then virtualization. So virtualization is something that you feel that you have a Ubuntu in your machine, but Ubuntu is not there in your machine. It is there in the Ubuntu server, okay, in some remote place, in a cloud. Okay, so that is what we call virtualization. So for instance, I can share your system by sitting here at my office. Okay, by using the concept of virtualization. Okay, so there are different types of softwares we have. Okay, so these are the three scenarios that we have as far as getting services from third party is concerned. Whether you're getting software as a service, whether you're getting a platform as a service, whether you're getting an infrastructure as a service. Okay, now for instance, if you want to eat some pizzas in outside, okay, so what you will do, in order to eat pizza, you go to the Domino's Pizza or a Pizza Hut, wherever it is. Okay, you go there. Okay, use their services. Okay, they are now the service providers. They will provide all the amenities. Okay, you eat pizza. Then after paying, you come back to your house. Okay, so what type of service? So that is nothing but a sort of public service or a software as a service. You going there, you're using it, and you're coming back. Okay, but rather than you are ordering online. Okay, so when you're ordering online, means what you are doing, you are not going there. You are not going there and using their amenities or the resources. Okay, so everything they are doing, and they are just providing you, delivering it you at your home. Okay, or there may be possibility that you want to use their resources. Okay, so you go to that place. Okay, you ask them that these are the ingredients you use. Okay, so you are starting using their infrastructure depending on your requirements. Okay, so all these are a type of services itself. Okay, so as whether it's a software as a service or a platform as a service or infrastructure as a service. Okay, so there are three types of deployments, as I've given an example earlier also. So we have a private cloud, we have a public cloud, and a hybrid cloud. So public cloud, similar to what the train services or a bus services or flight services that we're using. So that is publicly available. So you use them. Okay, so for that you have to purchase. You have to purchase or buy a ticket. Then only you can use that services. Or you can you can move from one place to another by your own car. So that is nothing but sort of private cloud. Okay, because you own them. Okay, so they're like in Amazon, Google, Flipkart. So they are nothing but the private clouds. Okay, so no doubt that they'll give some free trials for some duration, maybe 1 month. Amazon gives for 1 year. Okay, after that uh, they'll charge for you depending on the usage of their resources. Okay, but they handle both private as well as public. So they are nothing but a sort of hybrid clouds. Okay. So in a hybrid cloud, it is something like a sort of taxi. Okay, you hire a taxi and you go from one place to another. Okay. So that's why we have three different types of deployments as far as getting the services from the third party is concerned. Okay, whether you are getting services from the public cloud, but where it is everything is open, or you are using a private cloud where I have some contract I have signed with some third party companies. So I am the client, so I can use that services. Okay, not everybody, because I have been authorized by that for that. Okay. So for hybrid cloud, we have the combination of both public as well as private. Okay, so depending on the clients, so they'll provide the services. So as I mentioned, in case of public cloud, it is actually open for all. A service provider makes resources such as applications. Application may be a software and storage available to the general public over the internet. Okay, so it is publicly available. You can use it. Okay, like you talk about uh, Amazon Web Services, many things are free for 1 year. Otherwise, they'll charge after 1 year. Okay, so or like Google Colab. Okay, so public cloud. Okay, so even Google search engine, everybody is using it. That's open for all. Gmail, everybody is using. That is also open for all. So that is something what we call a public cloud. Okay, open for everyone. Okay. Google Drive, that is also public. So easy and inexpensive setup because hardware, application, and bandwidth costs are covered by the provider. So you have a Gmail, you are not paying for that, paid by Google. Okay. If you're using Google Drive, Google Colab, all this paid by Google. Okay, paid by Google. So that is so from your part, it is very free. Okay, so easy and inexpensive setup because hardware, application, and bandwidth costs are covered by the provider. You are not providing anything. Okay, if it is a private cloud, then you have to provide. So no wasted resources because you pay for what you use. Okay. So there are as I given an example of Amazon Web Services. In Amazon Web Services, you can open an account and you can use it for free trial for 1 year. After that, they'll charge. Okay. And initially, when you're opening an Amazon uh, your account in an Amazon Web Services, they'll ask you to enter your debit card number or a credit card number. Okay, and they'll deduct 2 rupees or something like that. Okay, so after that they'll return that money. Okay, just for security. Okay, after 1 year they'll have the debit card number and they'll send you a bill. Once 1 year is 1 year utilization is over, they'll send a bill to you. Okay. So that's why they say that no wastage resources, because you pay for what you use. Okay. So the simple example is that the public transport that we use. Okay, we pay and we use, or the internet service providers. You have Geo data pack or BSNL or Airtel. You pay money and get the services. Okay. So in private cloud offers hosted services. Okay, you have created or you want to host any website. Okay, you pay for that. So for instance, Magic Bricks, so plenty are there where they'll help you to create or help you in hosting your website, and they'll charge for that. Okay. So offers hosted services to a limited number of people behind firewall, so it minimizes the security concerns. Okay. So private cloud gives companies direct control over their data. Okay. So if you have created or hosted your own website, and whether you're using a Magic Bricks or some service providers, so they'll charge you, and based on that, they'll provide some sort of security because you are the only authorized user of that particular software. Okay, from that particular vendor. So that's why here in the diagram you see this is a resources to be used, a private cloud, and it is used by this particular party only, and not this and this. But in the previous example, this is open. So these are resources public. It's open for everyone. But private means only authorized clients can access. Okay. So in a hybrid, you will find them mixed. Okay, so a cloud computing environment which uses a mix of on-premises, private cloud, and third-party uh, public cloud services. It helps you leverage the best of both worlds. So you can use both public cloud as well as private clouds. So the combination is there. Okay, so we have a third-party plus on-premise. Okay, you're using both as far as this servers is concerned. So you are getting a third party as a public cloud. Also, some of the services you are getting from some other private vendors. Okay, so you're using both. So these are some of the really common providers we have, cloud providers. The most common is the Amazon Web Service, Google Cloud Platform, okay, IBM Cloud. Okay, so we call it as a Blue Mix. So Microsoft Azure. Okay, the central part is Amazon Web Services. So AWS. Okay, so AWS is the front runner as far as the cloud providers are concerned. Okay, so they are providing for IoT services, they are providing for blockchain, their supply chain management. I'll show you an example. What are the services this Amazon is actually providing? Okay, as far as cloud providers are concerned. So let me show that. So this one is called as a Gartner Hype Cycle for IT. Okay, 2019. You can say this. This actually shows the technology trend. So what are the expectations during time? Okay, so this you see as of July 2019. You can check for 2020 also. So see AI, it is increasing. Okay, so then smart contracts, smart robots, digital government technology platform, all these chatbots, drones. Okay, so public cloud computing. So these some triangles you see here. Okay, so innovation triggers peak of inflated expectations. So there is a peak. Okay, then trough of disillusionment. See Internet of Things, blockchain. Okay, this is not at the peak point, but cloud is there at this peak point from all other smart city framework, Internet of Things. Okay, all this. So after some time, it becomes stagnant. Okay, all this. So private cloud computing. Okay, IT infrastructure monitoring, the slope of enlightenment and plateau of productivity. Okay, so initially the technology will go at the peak, slowly it will come down, become stagnant. So this is what we call Gartner hyper cycle. For every year, they'll publish this, okay, just to see the trends of the technologies. Okay, so each and every time it follow this trend on. Okay, initially the AI, IoT, blockchain, they're all initially they raised here, and suddenly they came down, and again they become flat. Okay. So let me show you AWS. So actually I have an account in AWS. So I'll show you what are the services in Amazon Web Services. So aws.amazon.com. Ask for login. Okay. So you can create your own account. Okay. Initially, what is not taking? So you can have your own institutional account also. Okay. Now these are the services. In the topmost you see. So you see what are the different services we have. Okay. So in compute we have this. We call it as an elastic cloud. Okay. So virtual servers in the cloud. Okay. All this is nothing but computing services. So all these is nothing but storage services. Okay, S3, EFS, they're all storage. These are all compute. Similarly for robotics. Okay, similar blockchain also we have. Okay, then we have for machine learning. You see, so many services they are providing. Okay, so augmented and virtual reality also we have here. Okay, AWS cost management. All these are nothing but the quantum technologies, data analytics, database. Okay, so plenty of different databases are there. Okay, see all these are nothing but the services. See IoT services are there. So I generally use this IoT core. Okay, so the recently used this. Okay, so IoT core, IoT analytics, all these are nothing but the services. Okay, even game development, front end, web and mobile applications. Okay. So developer tools, so you can develop your own software. Okay, all these are nothing but the services that the Amazon provides, and you have to pay for these services. For 1 year it may be free, and then from the next year they'll charge you. Okay, so I'll show you one. Let's see, EC2, what are different things we have. And here in the top right hand side you see, I'll show you again. So whatever the free services that are providing, the data center is there in Ireland. Okay, so you have to choose Ireland. Here in the top right hand side you will find that. Okay, so you have to create. So here you see the Ireland is there. So many countries are there. So if you click any other country, they'll charge you. Ireland is actually free services is provided from Ireland. Okay, so you have, when you're creating your account, you choose Ireland. Okay. So then we have different types of services here. Please mute yourself. Who is that? So these are something what you call EC2 services. Okay, so you have to create your own instance. So different type you can use this for cloud computing. Okay, so you can write. So if you're using Internet of Things, then we have an IoT core here. So different types of services. You can write your own, build your own applications. So they will provide the softwares, and you can build your own applications. Okay. So this is how an AWS IoT core will look like. Okay. So here, so you have to create various certificates and all. So these are some of the certificates that I've created, because when you're using IoT, means IoT in the next module we'll discuss that. So there is talks about Internet of Things. So if you want to connect any object to the cloud, so that object must have an identity. So these are such identities we have. Okay. So these are the services related to the IoT. So that's why I've shown different AWS console management, CONS. You'll find plenty of even chatbots also you can create. So this is how the services that are there in AWS. Okay. Similarly for Microsoft Azure also you'll get. Okay. So AWS Management Console. Okay, so you launch a virtual machine, build a web app, build using a virtual server, everything, connect an IoT device, start migrating to AWS. Okay. So we have plenty of services, DevOps, machine learning, big data. Okay, you can learn also. Okay. So we call it as AWS Management Console. So this is how about the introduction of the cloud computing. In the next class, we'll discuss after Durga Puja. Okay. So if you have any doubt, you can ask me. Some way or the other way, we are using all these cloud services. Okay. If you are doing online purchasing, you are using a cloud. Okay. If you are ordering any pizzas and all, any food items using Swiggy and all, that is also a cloud. You're using a mobile apps to access like Ola and all, Uber, they're also working on cloud. Everything is working on cloud itself. Okay. Nothing is there in local machine. So for that, the backbone is internet. If you have an internet, you access those services. So if you have any doubt, you can ask me. Otherwise, we'll meet after Durga Puja. So you all please take a good care of yourself and a very happy Durga Puja to all of you. You do some practice for whatever we have discussed, especially neural network and all. And you can explore this AWS and all. You can create your own account, but make sure that if you're not utilizing it, then don't open your account, okay, in AWS. So similarly, we have ThinkSpeak Cloud for IoT devices. Okay. Even math books that MATLAB it provides, they also started. They provide you the MATLAB on the basis of cloud services in mathworks.com. So you can directly use in the cloud. Okay. You write your program, it will execute there, it will give the result. So once it is disconnected, you are disconnected from the services. So again, in the next day when you log in, again to establish a connection with you and the Google Cloud server. So the cloud nowadays is very much required. Okay, so without cloud, we can't do anything because nowadays huge amount of data is generated. We are all connected through mobile phones and social sites and all. Okay, so a lot of huge amount of data is generated through satellites or generated through medical devices, mobile phones. Everywhere, huge amount of data is generated through sensing devices and all. So for that, cloud is a must. Okay. In IoT also, without cloud, there is no use of IoT because the sensing data is sent to the cloud. So from cloud, you are accessing it. So that we'll discuss in detail when we talk about IoT. So we'll stop here. Take care and goodbye.
Thank you, sir. Happy Dashera.
Thank you and same to you all. Please take care of yourself. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.